Did you find at times that there were just no English words to capture the essence at times of what Rumi was saying, whether it be a wordplay or some type of metaphor, and you're like, oh, there's just no word for this? And if you came across that, how did you handle that?
Yeah, there's a word like oud, for instance. Oud means aloes wood, which is incense. It also means the instrument, right? So in one of the poems, he says, Atash zadi bar oud ma, nezare kon bar doud ma. So it's very compact. Atash zadi bar oud ma, nezare kon bar doud ma. But what did I want to do with oud? Yeah, it is. I didn't want to pick one or the other. I decided to put both. So I said, you lit a fire to the fragrant wood and body of song in me. Watch the smoke rise. And in another poem, he says, just the other day, fire whispered to smoke. No stick of aloes wood, there's the aloes wood, the oud. No stick of aloes wood shuns me, right? And it says it profits in perishing, right? But there's something that was missing, I felt, because most people don't know what oud is. What is aloes wood? What does it smell like? So I added the smell. So I said, just the other day, fire whispered to smoke. No stick of aloes wood shuns me. From its gnarls and knots, my flames unfurl. A honeyed musk of amber, fruit, and flower. It profits in perishing. The part that I added was this honeyed musk of amber, fruit, and flower. Why would we want to miss the fragrance? So sometimes I unpacked. And then there's Mansour. Mansour is a Sufi saint. Most Americans don't know the story of Mansour. So then I embed the story into the translation with, minimal words, but there's possible. So that was my approach,
You put the story in the poem itself?
Yeah, it's very short, but it was enough to tell, it was like, for instance, I can say very quickly, the old mystic Mansour, page 76. So it's like towards the bottom of the page, it says, the old mystic Mansour trusted in God, love, truth, in its omnipresence. Stepping down from the pulpit, he said, truth dwells in me. Blasphemy, said the caliph. Hang him from a tree. Unchained and in chains, Mansour danced his way there. At the gallows, he rose. So he's like a Christ figure practically, but someone who said, God is in me. And that was the blasphemy. So that story is the backstory. And so if I had just said, I can't remember what exactly, I could find what the minimal thing he said, but he says the old mystic said, truth dwells in me, and then, that he rose at the gallows. So I wanted the whole thing to be known, that it was the caliph that was like, you blasphemous, that sent him to the gallows. And then unchained and in chains, right? Because he was both chained up, but he was also completely unfettered, And another story says that they lopped his hands off and he was bleeding, and he started putting the blood on his face, and they were like, what are you doing? And he said, I want to be rosy cheeked when I see God. So he was that kind of.
We know
a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
In Turkish, we know him as Haleh.
Exactly. We say Mansour Haleh. Mansour Haleh. Yeah, exactly. So you know him. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah. Well.
I remembered when I read your.
Yeah.
Your embedded.
Yeah, exactly. Embedded. A little unpacking, a little embedding. That's part of my way of doing it. And when he said the carpenter, let the carpenter make something of me, and this is a reference most likely, although he doesn't name Jesus in that poem, but it's most likely Jesus. And he often says Isa. And in another poem he says, Dide por dard budam, kase zahd budam. An aching eye seeing through pain, a stewing pot of poison. I was both, reaching for the antidote. I touched compassion, I touched mercy. He actually says, I touched Jesus. I didn't say Jesus because to say, touch Jesus. I touch Jesus has so much connotation 800 years later. I mean, we
Like an
think
evangelist asking for money.
televangelist, call me 1-800-888-555. You know, touch Jesus, give me your money.
Let the Lord embrace you. Hallelujah.
Yeah, hallelujah. It breaks the spell, you know. So I wanted to do what is the characteristic, the essence of Jesus, compassion and mercy. I touch compassion, I touch mercy. And also Rumi is finding all these things within himself. As Mansur al-Hallaj says, God is within me, truth dwells in me. So, you know, let's allow it that. So yeah, these are some choices.
The way you perceive this whole thing, it's not just the translation. There is a symbiosis of the source and the target.
Yeah.
The source language and the target language.
Yeah.
They work together.
Yeah.
You make it work together.
I hope so.
That's why it's so fancy.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Thank you. You know, and I found the word ayin.
Ayin.
Do you have that word?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Ritual.
Ritual, tradition, way of life, practice. Yes.
Repetition.
Repetition.
It's got a sense of worship as well.
Indeed.
So.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, a sacred practice. Yeah, a devotional practice.